Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're excited that you can join us for our interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. Today we're discussing solo aging with co-host Carol Marak, author of Solo and Smart, the roadmap for a supportive and secure future. This is our most popular topic, and we intentionally tried to bring as many ideas and aspects to the forefront today. We had lots of audience questions and feedback. So let's jump into what was a very informative and thought-provoking discussion with lots of great audience questions. And now I am super excited to welcome my partner in crime on these solo aging discussions, Carol Marak, to the stage. And let me stop sharing here. And there Carol is. She walked up the steps and she's now here at the podium with me. Carol, it's great to see you today.
Oh, it's great to be here as always, Steve. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. This is such an interesting conversation, I think. Because it's just loaded with a lot of challenges and really good news too. So
yeah, absolutely. For those of you who've never been on one of our solo aging discussions, and we've had many in the last couple of years, let me just kind of give a brief overview of how I met Carol and stumbled into what an important topic this is. So when we started doing these live and interactive discussions, over the course of several of our discussions, people in chat started referring to themselves as solo agers, whether it be a housing option or a financial or legal option. They would say something like, I'm a solo ager, and how am I going to do this? And I was like, number one, I love that term. And the people were referring to themselves as solo agers, not being ashamed, is that it was almost this powerful term, but
yes,
looking for solutions. Okay. And so I went on the internet and I Googled solo aging, and guess who popped up first? It was Carol Marak. She had a Facebook group. She was writing a book. And I reached out and she willingly said, oh, I'd love to be on this discussion. And man, from the first discussion we had, it just blew my mind how important this topic is, which we'll get into here in a moment. So Carol, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into this discussion. And we're really excited for you and the audience to provide feedback all along this journey today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. I'm Carol Marak, of course, and I was a family caregiver, and it was through that situation of helping mom and dad with all of their elderly challenges. Mom had chronic illnesses. My dad lived with Alzheimer's. And so as their caregiver, and of course I had help from my two sisters, I realized, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. And at the same time, growing older and seeing mom and dad deal with their challenges, it was like, oh my gosh, this is really overwhelming, especially if you're aging alone, which I am, because I have no spouse. I'm divorced. I have no children. And I thought, what am I going to do? So it's very important. And I'm also very happy to hear, Steve, that people are calling themselves solo agers and feeling empowered about it, taking responsibility and starting to do research and asking questions. I think that's fabulous, because that's the only way we're going to make it through it.
This is great. So Carol, I love having you as a co-host, because you come from such an authentic space. You can you just did, you said, I'm aging alone, so you are a solo ager. Me, on the other hand, I'm the opposite. I am aging, as everybody on this call, by the way. The aging doesn't start with an AARP card, it starts on the delivery room table. But some people would say, well, Steve, you don't need to worry about solo aging. And let's, but we're going to, what Carol and I are going to do is we're going to share some of our thoughts, and we want you all to jump in and participate. If something resonates and you want us to go down that rabbit hole, then let's jump in on that topic. So let me go back to sharing my screen, because here are some things that I hear when I'm out there talking about this topic in the community. And I was just about to kind of blow my punchline there on myself, is that it would be easy for somebody like me to say, I don't need to worry about solo aging. I'm married and I've got two kids that can take care of me. So I don't need to worry about that. And whenever somebody makes a statement like, and so on the stage today, you have an authentic solo ager in Carol. She calls herself a solo ager. And you got a guy like me with a wife and kids. And you would think that solo aging topics only pertain to the solo ager on the stage. But here's the thing. One thing that I realize is I don't have any friends or loved ones where the husband and wife passed away on the same day at the same time. Okay.
Right.
So one of us is going to be a solo ager in our partnership. And then the other thing is, I think most people don't want to rely and don't want to rearrange their kids' lives to have them care for them as they grow older. I mean, there's some families and some cultures where that is expected and it's honored, you know, but for the most part, I want my kids to live their life. So in theory, I'm a solo ager in training, and I should be proud of that, and I should prepare for that, because if I prepare for that, if me and my wife prepare for that, it's the best gift we can give to each other, and it's the best gift we can give to our kids, you know. So that's one thing. The other things that I hear a lot of is when I meet a current solo ager is that I don't have anybody for my power of attorney, and I'm concerned about that. Who's gonna communicate my wishes? Another thing that we actually had a whole hour where our topic turned to, how do I build a network of support? I haven't made friends in 40 years. My wife made all of our friends, and she passed away. And then one thing that I like about the solo aging discussion is when you talk about your solo aging plan, it makes things that are difficult to talk about easier to talk about. So, for example, and I was just talking about this today to somebody, it's very difficult to have a conversation with somebody about modifying their home to be accessible. Okay. Put up grab bars in your bathroom. Oh, I'm not ready for that. I don't need that. But if you frame that as a solo ager, if you are living alone and you have a fall and you have to come back to your house, are you going to want to coordinate the remodeling so that you can age in place, which is your desire? Wouldn't it make sense to do that in advance? And all of a sudden, that discussion about grab bars is not as medical and geriatric as one might think. And then the last thing, but certainly not the least, is I don't want to think about any of this stuff. I don't want to talk about it because it's just too painful, and I don't have a script, as you all can see. I fumble with my words and stuff, but there's somebody that said, failure to plan is not a plan. Okay. Is that not thinking about this is only going to complicate the issues. So, I am, I wanted to rattle through my stuff because, Carol, you've really got a lot of good thoughts and ideas for the audience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the one thing I just want to say, a comment to your last point is, I don't want to think about this because it's too painful. Yeah, well, it's probably more of a struggle than it is, or more of a challenge, However, just think how painful it will be when you're in an emergency situation and you haven't thought about any of it, any of the challenges that you would likely face. And so I feel very blessed, I should say, that I had this huge epiphany after my parents died. And I think I was like 55. So I was pretty young. And that, I won't say how long ago that was, but it was a long time ago. And I'll never forget. Now, talk about a painful epiphany. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Now, and I feel blessed because it really, it shook my world. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I think it's great that we have these thoughts, and so because it's going to motivate us and prompt us forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Now, let's see, Carol, and I will tell you one of the reasons why I love scheduling these is that I think almost after every one of these discussions we've had, I've received an email or a comment from somebody later that said, thanks for having that conversation. It opened my eyes up to a lot of blind spots, and that's
yeah,
what we're dealing with here. None of us have a crystal ball, but if you are envisioning yourself, aging as a solo ager, you begin to realize that there's a lot of steps that you're probably not taking in terms of a planning and this. I don't want this to be, one thing I don't want this to be all about is medical and advanced care directives and stuff like that. It's also achieving your dreams, living your life. Don't hold yourself back because you're a solo ager. If anything, I think one thing that I've learned from talking to a lot of solo agers is how easy it is to do the things that you love. It's sort of like, I don't need to consult with a big family on taking a trip. I just pack my bags and I'm out the door. And there's a lot of people out there that have the same vision that you can connect with as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that kind of reminds me on my approach to my plan, because when my parents died and I had that epiphany, I mean, it really jump started my own life plan. And I started looking at, well, how in the world do you ever plan for aging? That just sounds crazy to me. Although where I started was looking at what my parents had to deal with and how me as a caregiver helped them. So, that to me kind of brings in the essence of critical thinking, just kind of having an open mind and looking at all the possibilities as well as all the issues and figuring out, well, how can I look at this instead of as a problem, but how can I start to see possibilities in this and start seeing solutions and options? So that was my approach, and I turned that into my book. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share a couple of slides that.
I love it. And while you're pulling your slide deck up, I just want everybody to know we got a few questions that have landed in. Let's see. Tony Burke says, this is for you, Carol. Are you familiar with the villages as a senior concept that could help solo agers as well as all agers?
Oh, absolutely. I love the villages. As a matter of fact, next month I'm going to St. Louis to present to the villages there in St. Louis.
Oh, I love it. And actually, the Village to Village Network is they're big advocates of being a solution for people of all ages. And for those people who are in the audience that may or may not be familiar with villages, I'll drop an article into chat that we wrote recently. But these are grassroots initiatives that help create supportive neighborhoods and help people age in place. And then the other question, and I'm just bringing these up because I know there's people in the audience that might want to comment on these questions, but Carol and I can address them as well. It says a lot of solo ager friends are thinking of leaving the U.S. to age somewhere else. Question: anyone else hearing this too? And question: what countries are you hearing them choose? So to that person that asks the question, I'm going to drop into chat a discussion that we recently had on international retirement. You will find it very interesting. There's a newsletter called International Living that really does deep reviews on international options, and it's an adventurous and an affordable option as well in many cases. Carol, do you have any insights on international living?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been thinking the same thing. It's kind of been going through my head. There is on YouTube, I believe his channel is called Nomad, Nomad Capitalist. He's Nomad Capitalist. And what he does, he travels the world. He helps businesses transition out of the US or whatever, mostly the US, and into a foreign country. And he helps them financially set themselves up to do business in another country. And so he also, like I say, he travels the globe. He makes some really wonderful suggestions on where to live. And for, of course, a variety of reasons: the low cost, the housing, the people, the culture, the food, finding jobs, really finding your passion and possibly creating your own work. So that I would recommend watching him on YouTube, Nomad Capitalist.
I found his website and I dropped it in there, and
Good.
then I'm gonna drop in another one here with it, and the title was "Retire Abroad," and it's a discussion with Dan Preacher, who's the editor of International Living, and that is sort of the preeminent newsletter. But when you watch this video, you will get a handle on some of the countries where it's more appealing. They have more incentives. But one of my friends is actually featured on this video, and she moved a block from the beach in Italy. And when you see her apartment and what she's paying, and what she's paying for the upgraded universal health care, is what she's paying for a year is what most of us pay for health insurance for a month. And she's kept her U.S. Medicare. She's kept that just in case she comes back to the U.S. So anyways, thanks for hitting us with those questions. And by all means, keep them coming. But Carol, let's dive into some of your thoughts here.
Yeah, well, very quickly, because I love having this open discussion and talking, really answering your questions. I think that's our priority here. However, just a quick kind of presentation on how to start thinking about your future in terms of really putting together a plan. And this is what my book addresses. It helps you figure out, okay, so where am I right now? Because if you don't know where you are right now, you're not going to know where you want to go or how to get there. So where are you right now? Where do I want to be, and how will I get there? And so you can do that through, I always have the hardest time with my mouse. Okay, please bear with me. So oh my gosh, this is crazy. There we go. Okay, so what you're going to do is think about the top 10 domains of living, right? These are the top 10 domains: your health, faith, spirituality, purpose, having a life purpose, social connections, support, location, where you live, exercise and fitness, and then finding rides if you can't drive, and then finances and legal matters, and of course, housing, having affordable lifestyle. And you're going to, in the book, I have a 25 questions per domain. But what you, in essence, you're doing is evaluating where you are right now by answering these 25 questions. And believe me, I know there's a lot more questions than just 25 to do a proper assessment. But I just couldn't get them all in the book. But then you're going to identify which one of those, which one, is it your health? Is it your purpose? Is it your location, affordable lifestyle or housing? Social connections, which one is putting you at the highest risk right now? And you're going to know that because you're going to tally up how you evaluate or how you answer all 25 questions. And then you can review and create practices to improve, which I include in the book, and then do your own research. Because I don't know how you want to age. I don't know how you want to live your life. And you don't know how I want to. It's so personal to each of us. So you're going to do your own research and figure that out. And I show you ways to do that. And then once you have that established, you can develop steps and things to do to help you move forward. And I highly recommend having or finding an accountability partner, a friend, or do it with a group of individuals, like a book club, for example, and do a plan together. I think that would be fun. Personally, I would. But here's an example of your health. And this is the way I looked at my health. The number one top issue to look at when you're really assessing how satisfied you are with your health is how well do you know your family medical history? And do you even know it? And have you shared it with your doctor? And have you created a plan around that, around the potential diseases or illnesses that you may acquire through genetics? Are you satisfied with your body weight? What about your chronic diseases? Do you know how many you have? How well are you managing them? Do you do annual tests, preventative type tests with your doctor? So are you happy with the blood test and the results? And then, of course, your diet and nutrition. So these are the five that I just selected from the book that I put in this kind of quick overview. Another one that I faced was social connections, because I lived in the suburbs and I didn't know my neighbors all that well. Plus, they were younger than me and they had families, and most of the time they were at work. So I started feeling, because I worked from home, I started feeling a little ill at ease that, if I fell or something happened to me, would anyone even notice that I didn't leave my home? So a way to evaluate your daily interactions is how healthy are your friendships and the quantity and quality of them. And then the activities, do you schedule activities and social engagements with friends? Do you stay active? And of course, what is the quality of your relationships? Is it reciprocal? Do you feel like you give more than you receive from them? And also the resilience of your friends. If you get sick, do you feel like that they continue to support you no matter where you are? And then also your network of friends, is it a strong one? And are you continuously, and I'm not saying you have to have a lot of friends, but you want to keep a sense of having a strong community of people to access for friendship and social engagement. So any other questions coming in? I don't want to keep talking.
Yeah. And I did want to address, like Arlene had said, Carol talked about her book before. Arlene, one of the things that we've found with these discussions, and for those of you who feel like this is maybe a rehash of a previous discussion, what Carol and I have discovered is if we throw a bunch of topics out there, the audience reaction is always different. So as is today, we've got a bunch of discussion about international retirement, and so hopefully for those of you who feel like we're doing another similar discussion, in a way, we're bringing up topics, but we will go down any direction in this discussion
Absolutely.
that you want to. So
Absolutely.
I didn't want you to think that this is a replay, because quite honestly, you in the audience are ensuring it's not a replay with these questions. And so let's dive into some of these, Carol. Okay,
Absolutely.
so when we were talking about international retirement, Marjorie jumped in and said, aging is not just about low cost. Like I was sort of talking about the financial benefits of international retirement. It's about family, friends, and community. And I think both Carol and I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things when you're reflecting on solo aging, regardless of, is the network, is as you had said. But you can see, and you can see with some of the comments where some folks are sort of intrigued by the idea that, hey, look, I feel confident enough to rebuild a new network, and why not go to a country where I can save money and sort of live an adventurous lifestyle? And I think you framed it very well, Carol. None of us in this discussion today are the same. You have to do an inventory, and your book details that inventory very well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think moving, because I am thinking maybe, who knows if I'll follow through or not, but I have seriously, well, not too seriously, but I have thought about moving to another country. And however, I want to make sure that I have some things in place like social connections. So do your research before you move to that country to really figure out what are the venues in that area. And and how engaging is that culture, right? So another great city that I've heard a lot about is a few in Mexico, like is it San Martin? Is it San Miguel? San Miguel Al Dente, I think is the name of it. And people, of course, there's a lot of expatriates there, so that would be like an automatic network of individuals that you can start socializing with, right, and start engaging with. And or perhaps if you want to move alone, to another country, like your friend Steve in Italy, that sounds very interesting. I would love to hear how she did that in terms
Well,
of how did she start engaging with people.
yeah, and also on the recording, I dropped that link in there, and I'll make sure that it's also directly on the recording link for this. But this ties into another question that says, I once met with reps from a group that was advocating for portability of Medicare to get coverage overseas, like Social Security can be received other than the USA. Anyone think that there's possibility of that in the future? The one downside, well, there are downsides to everything, but I will say that Dan spoke about, changes in the political climate in this country and in any country is something to consider, especially for the international retirement. But hopefully there will be more portability of our Medicare and things like that. I sort of find that, and I think Dan echoed this, is that taking an extended trip now, because you've got Airbnb, you might be able to go check out a community that you have interested in, maybe take a longer vacation, and then sort of think about making it a permanent residence.
Yes.
And in chat, everybody is making suggestions of countries that are encouraging to retirees. I know Portugal is a very favorable country, and I see that that's there as well. Okay, Um, okay, so great question here. Are there any peer support groups that discuss the areas of your book? I would love to join one. Um, any solo aging peer groups or things like that, Carol?
Uh, well, my Facebook group is called Elder Orphans, and please forgive the name. I call it Elder Orphans because it's a geriatric, uh, frequently used geriatric term. And it really signifies or implies how if we don't have a plan, and really create a safe and secure lifestyle, we will face the risk of being an elder orphan, which can be uh, pretty detrimental. So my Facebook group is called Elder Orphans. We do have smaller breakout communities or subgroups, I should say, on Facebook. I have one here in Dallas called Dallas Aging Alone, and we'll meet for lunch. We used to meet more often until the pandemic happened, so we don't meet as frequently as we used to, but we still communicate online in Facebook. And I know people don't care for Facebook too much, so who knows? Maybe one day we'll have a community, online
Well,
community for solo
yeah,
agers.
and one thing that I would love to like, my world is all about experimentation, and these discussions have led to some really good ideas and connections. And what I would say to those of you in the audience, if if you're interested in connecting with other solo agers, shoot me an email, and perhaps I can get a dozen or so of you together, and Carol will bring you into the fold. And maybe we can do a little test of one way to help you make connections beyond these discussions. But I will tell you, one of the reasons I like convening a solo aging talk like this is for just that reason. This is a
Mhm.
support group for all of us. So
Yeah, I
great
like
idea.
that idea. I think that's a great idea, Steve. So, yes, let's do it, folks. Whoever is interested, let's see what happens in terms of creating a community of support. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not sure what that's going to look like, but I'll let
yeah,
Steve figure that out.
well, we got Wanda. She said she's interested, so we got one person at
Perfect.
least. That's great.
Yay.
No, but I think again, I think a support group could be three people sort of sharing ideas, and I think this is a topic that is it's so empowering. It's not negative either. I mean, you connect three solo agers, and what have you done? You've created a network of support right there. If they can,
Absolutely. Yes.
so yeah, actually, solo agers are not solo agers when we create a group. I
That's
like
right.
this. This is pretty cool. Let's see. Okay, let me get back to, there was another question that I wanted to address. Okay, another topic that I really love here. More towns near universities are now trying out students living with solo agers. Any folks having that in your town or city, or could recommend where this is happening? So there's a couple, the Washington Post did a great article on home sharing. Home sharing is amongst older adults is a rapidly growing trend. 15 years ago, if you talked to somebody over 65 and said home sharing, the majority of people would probably look at you funny. But it's a growing trend, especially when we're connecting older adults and young people. And there are several home sharing websites out there. There's a lot of community based initiatives on home sharing.
Mhm,
Silvernest
mhm.
is one of the websites, but if you type in to Google home sharing for older adults, that's one way to make connections. But these are turning out to be great intergenerational connections as well. Any thoughts on home sharing, Carol?
Well, I do know that at least two people here where I live have two-bedroom apartments where they're condos, and they have a college student living with them where they are renting out their second bedroom to a college kid. And the rent isn't that high for the student, because that student is helping that individual, the older person, with chores, with getting running errands and things of that nature. And so that's kind of an up and coming kind of a solution.
Great.
Kind
Oh,
of almost a live-in care. Well, it's not really a caregiver, but a live-in errand person.
and companion, a friend
Companion,
too. Yeah.
absolutely.
Hey, okay, Sarah Sheets. Sarah says, I have started a solo living support group in Beaverton, Oregon. Oregon. I have regular attendance of about 20 people once a month. It's been in place for about 2 years. Sarah, send me an email. Let's spotlight you and your support group on one of our next discussions on solo aging. I would love, and maybe if you had a
Okay.
few solo aging participants from your support group that would join us, I think that would be a lot of fun. But we could learn a lot from your model, and there could be, sort of national and international support groups. But I know a lot of people want to connect with their neighbors, and you could see where connecting with other solo agers in your community, the value of that. So, Sarah, thanks for sharing that. Barbara Sullivan, who's the executive director of Village to Village Network, she says, how do you define solo aging? I asked this because it came up in an interview with a reporter asking about solo aging. Many people who are single but have adult children that live in other parts of the country are solo agers. The reporter wanted solo agers to be those that have no immediate family. Barbara, I'm not sure if you were on at the beginning of the discussion, but what we were talking about, I think you agree, Carol, that defining solo agers is going to impact this movement. I am a solo ager. Carol, I would call her a current solo ager. Whereas I am a future solo ager because either me or my wife are going to outlive each other, and we can't plan for our kids to live with us. And so that's how I define it. I can see how a reporter would want a strict definition that solo agers are people that never had kids and never married or divorced and live alone. But I think
But
that's not a good definition.
no, Steve, we have arguments. We have that argument in our Facebook group. People will say, "Well, if you're married, then you're not a solo ager." Well, if you're married and you don't have children, it's really not it's not my definition, and it's not anyone else's definition. It's how do you identify with the term solo aging? If you identify with that term, then take it on and become one and start preparing for it. It doesn't matter if you have children that live across town or live 1,000 miles away. If you identify that you're living alone, you're alone, then you are. It's really your own perspective.
Yeah, a lot of this it's customized to each of us, and this next question really is great. It says, a friend said she wishes to rent at the end of her life so no one has to handle her house and apartment after she dies. Is this wise? My first comment on this is it depends. It depends on your situation and your preferences. There's pros and cons to everything. But I think no matter what, one thing that we've learned, especially for solo agers, is documenting your wishes, documenting what you want. Let's say that you make that decision to rent a home. You need to document what you want to have happen after you pass, or what have you. I know that you talked a little bit in your book and in our previous discussions about where to live, and I think you just alluded to the fact you were in the suburbs and now maybe you're in more urban environment.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I was alone. My neighbors didn't know me. However, if I really did a little more planning, I think I could have stayed right where I was, but I didn't. I moved into an urban area in a high rise, which gave me instant access to people, which I made friends with them. I have a network of support now. We text each other. I'm never alone in terms of, I mean, I'm alone in my condo because I like being alone, but I don't feel like I'm isolated. If I ever feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to get out of these four walls, then I just go downstairs and have a conversation. We have like 600 residents that live here. So there's always someone to talk to.
Now, are you
So,
in a age restricted community?
no,
Okay,
no.
great.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And so you live in a condo, and
Yes,
is it in an urban environment or
yes,
okay?
absolutely.
And
Yep.
and I'm sitting here, because I know we're shifting a little bit into the housing and where to live, and a lot of times, folks there in senior housing in the audience will know I'm not ready for that yet. I'm not ready to move to Shady Acres or what have you. So you're living in a condo. One of the criticisms of that option is that, well, but you're going to be working with all working professionals, and but how have you what are your thoughts on living with all ages versus an age segregated community?
Well, I'd rather live around younger people because we need to be, well, I need to be, I can't say you do, but I need to be around younger people because it keeps me more active. And, uh, and it really helps my mind be more open if I'm around younger people because their perspective is different than mine. And I think they just being around younger people keeps me younger.
So here's the breaking news is that we don't need to reveal your age, but Carol, you have friends that are younger than you, and your younger friends have friends that are older than them, right?
Right.
All right, yeah. That I'm just sometimes in these discussions when we talk about aging, it's sort of like it gets very segregated, and I'm just having a little tongue in cheek
Yeah.
there.
Well, the age group here in my building, we have residents who are 94. Many of them have lived here for over 40 years, believe it or not. And then we have newbies that are in their 30s and 40s. So we have a plethora of ages
I,
in this building.
I like it.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I found this next question said, can someone share where we can find census demographics that help me understand the number of 65 plus in the US and the other different data, like the 22 million statistics shared earlier? And Glenna shared in chat, she said, that let's see, it says, Steve, how about the one-off couple that will die first and leave the other behind? If they're boomers, they may not have kids. 22 million boomers never had kids. Glenna, if you don't mind, if you've got a good census resource or demographic resource, I know you're a researcher, drop that into chat and we'll try to give everybody a resource where they can sort of learn more about demographics. And oh, this is a good one here, man. Susan says, can we have a future solo ager group as well, or would it be better to be part of solo aging, married with no children? I I I could see like even just a Facebook page, where married with no children, uh, concerned about my future, or something
Mhm,
like that.
mhm, mhm.
Um, I love it. I think that, again, this is a big experiment, folks. I mean, I've been in this business for 32 years and never had this many discussions about solo aging. So I like the idea of let's collect our efforts and maybe we could start creating different support groups, different groups that have similar but different attributes. So thanks, Susan, for that. Um,
But
uh,
let's try not to get too segregated
yeah,
because we can learn from one another.
exactly.
And that's what I like to remind people.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I agree. Um, if one is a solo ager, what packet of info and legal forms should be taped to the refrigerator if we die alone? I don't mean to laugh about the die alone thing, but you may have heard me talk about it in the beginning.
I think we all die
We're
alone,
all
don't
going to
we?
die alone. I mean, so, but okay, we did a discussion on the legal implications of solo aging, and I'll make sure to include a link to that prominently where the recording is. There are a variety of documents and legal forms that all of us should have easy access, and we should have had conversations with our network, whether they're paid or unpaid, on where those things are. And I know that that was discussed in that discussion, so I'll make sure to share that with everybody. The Okay, let me see. Mary Lou has her hand raised. This may be a mistake, but Mary Lou, I'm going to unmute your mic in case you did want to share something with us. And holy cow, there is so much chat. This is Carol. If you see anything, I'm sort of scanning the chat here.
Yeah, I wanted to do a real quick shout out to Barbara Sullivan. Hi, Barbara. I don't know if you remember me or not, but you were part of one of my groups. It was called Empowered Aging on Facebook, which no longer exists, but you were part of that group, and it's so good to see you here. And I'd love to connect with you again.
That's great. Okay, I reposted a comment in chat that Dorothy Stiles made, and she says the condo complex I live in has a very mixed age group. I feel safe. We all have a secure front door that will accept packages, screen visitors before they're allowed in, help us get lift. I also have friends here, and we send a quick text to each other after each morning to check in that we're all okay.
I
That's
love it.
really cool. I also will say, like, Carol, you sort of alluded moving from the suburbs to a more urban environment. Another discussion that we want to have is on urban retirement, and we've got a few folks that have made those transitions from the suburbs to an urban living situation. And one of the things that they all cite is feeling like they're part of a community, even when they just walk down on the sidewalk in front of their condo, that
Absolutely.
they're not
Yes.
lonely and isolated, or they're less
Yes.
lonely and isolated. Um,
Yes.
okay. Mary Busey says that Fairfax County offers a file of life, a magnetic envelope to be attached to the refrigerator, and it has the things. Yeah, I actually, I think if you type into Google file of life, I think that's sort of a universal program that's nationwide, and you can get some good info there. Um, let's see. Um, okay, okay. All right. I'm trying to get through some of these. There some just great. I will make sure to copy all of this chat because there's uh, so many great resources in chat today, and this is exactly what we wanted, and it's what's happened every time we do a solo aging discussion. So if you tune into another solo aging discussion and you sort of feel like it's the same thing, I can tell you we have a different audience every time and different resources. Okay. Okay, let's see. Oh, Sarah says, Steve, would you send me your email address? Let me type that in. It's steve@proaging.com. Um, I'll follow up with everybody with an email with a link to the recording later today. Um, Holy cow. Okay, we are almost to the top of the hour, but I'm trying to see if there's some things that we can uh, pull out. Oh, it. Let's see. There is. Marilyn says, I missed the first half hour. I'm in Carol's Elder Orphans Facebook group. There's a New York City subgroup. I joined it just after the pandemic. We have not been in contact. I am in an apartment building and in my apartment for almost 50 years, all ages, but most people keep to themselves. So Mickey or Marilyn is a little bit different story in her apartment building. Folks are a little bit more isolated. And that's, again, it's sort of like sometimes it might be we have to build a community. Sometimes we may be, hey, maybe I'm going to look around at different apartment buildings or a different place. But I think the thing about this topic of solo aging is agers or people who are planning for it, they're empowered. They're taking control of what they can control. And, I mean, Marilyn, it's
Yeah.
maybe it's having a conversation with the management company or something like that.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, for me, when I first started, because believe it or not, I'm an introvert, and it was difficult for me to make friends in terms of just really putting myself out there. And so at the time, I was going to a life coach, and she gave me some exercises to do. And then she said, okay, let's just take it slowly. And this may sound crazy to you and kind of very simple. And it was simple. And she said, just start making eye contact with people. You don't even have to talk to them if you feel uncomfortable. But then, I started having conversations with the clerk at the market. And once I started just kind of feeling more confident about my social skills, I started talking to strangers everywhere. So, and then when I moved into this building, and don't have expectations that you're going to make friends right away, because it took me 2 years to make a friend in this building. Even though there were 600 people that live here, people are very leery and they want to see you first. There is this one man that lives in the building. I've been here now 6 years. He just started talking to me. Now, I've been here 6 years. Isn't that crazy? So just have patience.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it takes time.
Got a couple of things
Okay.
that we can kind of wrap up on here, and one specific, but I want to. Vita says, for the longest time, I felt like I was the only woman without children or a husband. This is such an eye-opening discussion. Vita, this is what we mission accomplished. If one person has a takeaway from this discussion, I'm delighted. And then this is interesting. Victoria says, I'm an example of a now current solo ager, but served as a full-time caregiver for my husband who had Alzheimer's for 6 years before his death. I felt and functioned as a solo ager even while he was alive. And my heart breaks for you and all of the caregivers that are out there. And again, we want to connect you and empower you. And but I think that probably that experience, for better or for worse, prepared you and forced you into becoming an official solo ager before you were actually, I guess, a solo ager. But so those are two things that I want everybody to think. But this is the big one that I want to finish with. And I'm thinking our next discussion might need to focus in this area. And that says, I would love to see in chat some of the fun benefits of being a solo ager, not all the dire aspects. So folks, if you're a solo ager and you're in this discussion today, throw in some of the fun things, some of the reasons that you are empowered by being solo. But Carol, let me turn this to you, our are authentic, an authentic solo ager. Um, what are some of the things that you like about, and what are the fun things about being a solo ager?
I can eat what I want, when I want, go where I want, when I want. I have no one I have to check in, that I have to check in and get permission or even tell them where I'm going. I have complete freedom.
Yep.
That's me. But of course, I'm kind of a free spirit.
Vita says the remote controls for everything are mine. um, the the um, yeah. So I think that now I don't want to dive into your personal life, okay? But do you find yourself like um are you sort of eager to find a partner and maybe change your partnership status, or do you have a partner but you still sort of look at it like you're a solo ager?
Is that for me?
Yeah, I'm asking that for you.
Oh, I have no desire for a partner.
Okay.
No, I'm divorced twice, and the last one just I'm done. And so even before my dad died, he said, Carol, I don't think you need to be married. And I don't think you need to live with anyone. You just need to be alone.
Yeah.
And I thought, Dad, you are so wise. So I took that to heart. No, I have no desire.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And folks, I just asked Carol that just to get one viewpoint. I see in chat some people are like, I would love to have a companion, and other people are sort of like, I'm with you, Carol. Everybody is different. There's no right or wrong. There really isn't. And
Absolutely.
and that's some of the comments that I'm getting is that
Yeah, and I have friends that want partners. They
yeah,
that live here in the building and they're alone, they're solo, and they want partners. And it's like, well, I think that's great. Go for it.
yeah, that's you. And
Yeah.
Vita, I'm giving Vita a gold star today because she was out there by herself and didn't realize there's so many other people like her. And she says one of her comments is, "Ice cream is my favorite dinner." And yeah, and Vita, I would say to you, when my wife goes out of town, sometimes ice cream is my dinner too. You know. Um,
I love
so
it.
all right. Well, this is fantastic. Oh, wait, I've got one more slide that I've got to share. I apologize. I got kind of taken away. Carol, you are involved with a project with one of our audience members, Glenna, and let me pull this slideshow up and share my screen, and you can tell folks a little bit about this project.
Sure.
And then I am going to get the link while you're talking about it.
Great. Well, this is a question of a survey that if you care or choose to participate in, please do. But I am curious, or there's few of us who are curious about where do we go for financial advice and decisions. For example, back in several years ago, we did a PhD candidate and I did a study of solo agers. And one of the top biggest concerns that we have is financial decisions. And 78% of the participants had no one to discuss their financial decisions or questions with or getting advice from. So that not only has that question kind of lingered in my mind, I'm really curious because I'm also working with financial advisors and they are curious too. Well, if you don't depend on financial advisors, where do you go for advice and for decision making? And this is a very simple question survey. It takes maybe 2 minutes to fill out. And so you actually will receive 11 tokens. So it's a new way of doing a research project. And then you give those tokens to whichever network. The more tokens you give to that particular network means they are your highest choice for where you go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great survey. I dropped it into chat and I took it myself yesterday, and I thought it was an
Good.
interesting approach. And again, I like taking surveys because it's thought provoking on how I'm planning.
Yes.
And okay, I promise now we're going to close this out, but I'm going to close it out with Shanti's question slash comment. And she says, I hope you have a follow up. Yes, we need to hear that solo aging is not all about being lonely. So I think that's a great theme and a great way that we can talk about this. And she says, also, I would love to have a session about the financial aspects of solo aging. I think one thing that this topic validates is that we can't go wrong by having as many discussions as possible on it. And we're all potential solo agers if we're not currently a solo ager. So, Carol, once again, thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the next discussion. And for those of you on on tomorrow, we're having the discussion on gray divorce. So maybe that's a topic that would be of interest to folks with an attorney and author. So
let's give a big hand to Steve. Thank you. You're so much fun.
Thank you. Hey, listen, I love waking up in the morning when we have one of these discussions.
Oh, well, listen to you.
This makes my day. It really does. So
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Talk to you soon. Okay.
Bye,
See you,
everybody.
Okay. You bet.